In the context of risk management, how can farmers effectively use futures contract to hedge against potential losses due to adverse price movements? Yeah.
Now, what happens in adverse price movements for a farmer is the prices go so low. And you've had it very many times when the farmers say, Serikali tusaidie. The way the futures contract works is it eliminates that adverse price movements against a farmer because the price is locked in.
Yeah.
So as a farmer, you can choose, me, I don't want to speculate. I'm a farmer. My business is farming. I want to produce the best coffee. And when I produce the best coffee, I want it to be sold. So that is where you use a futures contract to help you manage the risk of the price of the commodity going down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you one more time for joining me on yet another episode where we talk about nothing but agriculture. We talk about commodities, we talk about finance, power, name it. And today we are here to talk about something different. First of all, thank you for the love that you've been showing us. For those who've been following us on our, last episode, we talked about so many good, beautiful things. It was quite informative. And today, that's just exactly what we're here to do. So many a times you find that farmers in different, agricultural sectors producing different products, be it, tomatoes, potatoes, maize, all those sorts of produce. You find that a farmer normally faces different challenges. And one of the challenges that normally happens is how to safeguard their interests to ensure that they maximize profitability in terms of selling their products. And that's why today we want to talk about something called future contracts. What's a future contract? And before we proceed, welcome Mr. Jacob one more time.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes, people are so excited about what we talked about last time, about commodity exchange. And just to start us off, please talk to us about future contracts and what is it all about?
Thank you very much, Akuku.
Karibu.
Good day, our viewers. I'm Jacob Maga. I'm the CEO for Commodity Market Exchange. So what is a futures contract?
Exactly.
A futures contract is a contract between two people to exchange a specific amount of produce or goods at a specific day in the future for a price that we agree today. Okay? So me and you, we say maybe I'm going to sell you 20 cows that when you get for your dowry. In next year in December, because we've planned for the wedding and we are coming to it, and we agree on the price that will be 100,000 per cow. So next year in December, I'll deliver to you those cows that meet the standards that we agree on. If you want all bulls weighing a particular amount of weight, that is what I'll deliver to you.
All right, let me just hold you there. So that means, for example, what you're trying to say is we can agree, for example, that next year, December, I will sell you this phone.
Yes.
At 10,000 shillings.
Yes.
Regardless whether at that particular time the market price will be maybe this phone going for 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
But I'll still sell it to you at 10,000.
Absolutely. You've stated it very correctly.
Yes.
So that is exactly what it means to lock in a price. So you can imagine the usability in that. For instance, a farmer, before you go to the shamba to put all your energy and money, you agree with someone that you're going to sell them. Maybe you're producing potatoes. You sell them all your potatoes at a particular price per kg. and that price is locked. So when everybody is coming to the market with their potatoes, because all of us, when we harvest, when are we coming? At the same time. When that happens, what happens to the price? It drops. But you, because you are a smart farmer, you locked in your price. Now you are delivering your goods and you get paid the price that you agreed on.
Okay. What are some of the key benefits of this, of future contracts, and how do they differ from other risk management tools available in the agricultural sector?
So one of the key benefits is, one, you have an assured market, right? So remember, you locked in the price. Now, you're not doing it directly with each other, you're doing it through a futures exchange or a commodities exchange, okay? So the other part is you are dealing with a regulated market. Here in Kenya, the exchange is regulated by who? The Capital Market Authority, right? So you are dealing with a regulated entity. So that means you do not have to know who is your buyer and who is the seller on the other side.
There is a gatekeeper in between.
Yeah, the exchange is the buyer to every futures contract and it's the seller to every futures contract. So it has the obligation to make sure that those contracts perform. The second part is, because you've locked in a particular price and you've locked in a buyer as well, now you can use that futures contract as a way to get you, as assurance for you to get money. A bank may say, I don't want to accept maize or potatoes. But through the exchange, the bank knows it's not going to receive the maize or the potatoes or even cattle. That is going to go to someone else because the exchange makes that possible. Now the banks is very comfortable lending you money for commodities that you've produced or commodities that you intend to produce.
Can you also elaborate on the role of speculators in the futures market and how do they impact the dynamics of agricultural futures contracts?
So speculators are very important people. They are traders. They bring what we call liquidity. It's not all the time that a processor, for instance, for maize, that they want the maize right now. So what happens is a trader or a speculator comes in and says, I'm going to buy the maize now and sell it sometime in the future. So they bring in the liquidity. They also play a very important role in terms of price discovery. So if you are a trader, you'll go out and do your surveys. You'll know the supply. You'll know who are the buyers, who are the major buyers who are using particular commodities. Are they buying? Do they need more? You're going to go to the farms, visit all those farms and make sure, is there enough rain or there is no rain? What does that do in terms of crop production or animal production? So a speculator will look at all those entities, all that information, and then make an informed decision on whether to put in a particular price or to sell.
Okay.
Yeah. Once they do that, then they give an idea of what the price is going to be in the future.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then definitely when it comes to production, we have issues like law of supply and demand.
Yes.
We have things like weather conditions, among other things. Now, how do such events influence the prices when we vis-a-vis future contracts?
So the role of the futures contract doesn't, the contract itself doesn't impact prices. What happens is the law of supply and demand is what determines the price of the futures contract. And where futures contract come into play. They give very clear indication of what people are thinking and where the market is at that particular time. Now, the contracts, maybe we're just talking for right now about commodities.
Yes.
Also, currency is a commodity.
Yes, yes, yes.
Currency is a commodity, right? So look at it this way. If you are if you are a buyer for cars from, for instance, from Japan, right? And you have a seller, your client who wants to buy a car from you. Now, for you, you have to import the car and then bring it here. And the guy here in Kenya will pay you in Kenya shillings. But you, what are you buying it? You're buying it in dollars.
Yes.
When you pay for import, for transportation and all that, it's in dollars. If the shilling that you are getting paid goes very high, what does that mean? That means you are losing money.
Yes.
But now when you come in and say, I'm going to buy a futures contract for 150, if the shilling goes all the way to 200, 300, it doesn't matter. I'm protected. Right? Same, you can now trade very comfortably and pass on that price to a buyer with certainty, and you are not going to incur any losses.
Allow me to just interrupt you just a little bit. Now, when we are talking about future contract, as a farmer, assume I am a farmer, I'm growing, I'm producing maize, for example. Do I have, can I have a future contract with a buyer somewhere, whereby it is just me and him, or her, or that different organization, or there has to be a particular body, say a company or a SACCO, that I have to bypass in order for me to do that? Because that is also very important to our farmers who are
the way the markets are structured. There are two elements that you talked about, right?
Yes.
You talked about the farmer having a contract with someone else directly.
Yes. To say a farmer is in Murang'a, and the buyer is somewhere in Migori.
In Migori.
Yes.
And they've signed a contract directly with each other.
Exactly.
Now, that is another kind of contract. It's called a forward contract. And it's between two parties. Now, what is the risk of a forward contract? Is the guy in Migori, who is the buyer, can find another buyer and say, another seller, and say, Pana, your price,
I can't do with it.
I can deal with it.
Yes.
You have no recourse at that point. But when you are dealing with a futures contract through a regulated exchange, you're not going to have that kind of instance.
Your interest as a farmer is safeguarded.
It's safeguarded 100%.
Okay.
And also, the buyer on the other side, their interest is also safeguarded. It's not just the farmer. It's the buyer and the farmer, the producer and the buyer as well.
In the context of risk management, how can farmers effectively use futures contract to hedge against potential losses due to adverse price movements? Yeah.
Now, what happens in adverse price movements for a farmer is the prices go so low. And you've had it very many times when the farmers say, serikali tusaidie.
Serikali ingia kati.
Yes. But the government has been saying their work is to provide an enabling environment for people to do business. And farming is a business, and a great business indeed. Right? So the way the futures contract works is it eliminates that adverse price movements against a farmer because the price is locked in. Right? Then, on the other hand, we also have what we call options on future. right? So I have an option to buy this futures contract if the price go really high. Yeah? So there you are speculating. Okay?
Yeah.
So as a farmer, you can choose. Me, I don't want to speculate. I'm a farmer. My business is farming. I want to produce the best coffee. And when I produce the best coffee, I want it to be sold. So that is where you use a futures contract to help you manage the risk of the price of the commodity going down.
Again, allow me to interrupt. Now, you've talked about the benefits of future contracts, especially to the farmer who is a producer somewhere in Muranga. As a seller, as a buyer now, assume I am the buyer.
Yes.
I need this maize from this particular farmer in Muranga.
Yes.
Well, how am I protected, or what are some of the advantages that I have as a buyer?
The same way it protects a farmer,
Yeah.
it's the same way it protects an end user, an agro processor. Because now the farmer cannot side sell their maize because they see the price has gone up. Because they entered into a contract, right? And when you enter into a contract, you just don't do it like it's a sign. You actually put in money, what we call a bond or margin. And that protects both parties, right? So the farmer cannot turn out to be a speculator, waiting for the prices to go up. Now, for me, for you as an agro processor, you are guaranteed that you're going to receive the quality of maize that you said, the quantity at the agreed price. Now, for you as a processor, all that you're left to do is to process your maize into maize flour and sell it at the appropriate price.
Beautiful. Allow me to also challenge you a little bit by asking, could you actually practically walk us through a futures contract, the way a farmer can use it in a real world in order to, how do we put it, to manage risks from different scenarios? Yeah, the practicability of this.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of practicability, let's choose a crop first.
Yes. Let's go with maize, because that is what I
Maize.
think is our staple.
Yes, maize.
Yes.
Okay. In maize, there is the production cost from the time you start plowing, the seeds, the fertilizer, the taking care, and then all the way to harvest.
Yes.
Then the second part is the storage. And then you have to deliver it to a processor, right? Now, as a farmer, when do you want to know the price of maize? Is it after you plant or before you plant?
I think most people will go with before I plant.
Before I plant.
Yes.
Because I want to know, if I plant this maize today, is it going to be profitable for me? Am I going to receive the money, the investment that I have put in,
The return on investment.
plus a return?
Yes.
That is what we want to do, right? So what is the practical application? As a farmer, you're going to say, I have 10 acres of maize, right? Let's say those 10 acres of maize, each acre, for argument's sake, produces 1 ton. Now you have 10
Acres. Now I have 10 tons.
10 tons of maize,
Yes.
right? Now, before I put in a grain of seed, I want to know what is the price 3 months from now. So I go to the exchange, or I call my representative, who is a young man within my locality, ask them, I want to sell my maize. I'll be producing 10 tons of maize in June. What is the price? They're going to tell you, in June, the price that is there is 3,500.
That is an estimate.
That is, no, that is a futures contract for June. Because the futures contract are, like for maize, there is a December, and then you have March, then June, September, and then December. So there are 4 contracts. So they are going to tell you, oh, in June, it's going to be 3,500. Why is that? Because everybody is harvesting at the same time. And then they tell you, oh, but in September, it's 4,500. And good prices are coming for some in December. Let's say the December contract is 6,000. You have how many prices? 3. Which price do you want to take?
I will take the highest price as a
The
farmer.
highest price in December. Let's say it's 6,000.
Yeah.
You tell your representative, sell for me futures contracts for 10 tons of maize. So they sell that for you. You put in some money, a guarantee, right? You've put in the guarantee, and now you've sold your 10 tons at 6,000. Good. Now for you as a farmer, you start producing. You produce your maize, and then come June, when you are all harvesting, what are you supposed to do? You have some need for some money, right? You take your maize to a certified warehouse, right? To store it there. They issue you with an electronic warehouse receipt. That warehouse receipt shows the ownership of the
product.
Product, the maize. It also shows the quality, because the exchange is not going to accept any maize that
just comes by.
No, it has to meet certain standards, and those standards are what all the millers take. It can't have aflatoxin. It can't be more than 12.5% in terms of moisture. It has to be dry. It has to be clean maize. It cannot have certain impurities. So those specifications have to be followed, right? So once you take your maize to the warehouse, you are issued a warehouse receipt. Now you can walk into a bank and tell them, I sold this maize before I produced it, and it's in a warehouse. It's going to be delivered at 6,000 in December, right? Instead of right now for 3,500, right? Extend me a loan for 60-70% of the maize, because I want to start planting, or I want to pay school fees for my children, or something like that, right? At that point, the bank will say, we're going on to hold on to this receipt. They give you the money for the loan. Maybe they give you 50%, and then you wait. Come December, it's not your responsibility to deliver the maize. The exchange takes your warehouse receipt, right? When it receives money, the 6,000 that you agreed, it receives it, it delivers your warehouse receipt to the buyer, who is the maize miller, right? And then it tells the bank, we have this 6,000 from this farmer. What do we do? The bank says, that farmer,
Akona loan na sisi.
The 3,500 plus our interest, plus our service fees and so on, this is how much.
They deduct
that. So the next thing is the farmer receives the difference.
The deficit now, yes.
Yes. Now the farmer, once they receive their money, they are comfortable, they are happy. Let me give you another practical example. For milk. We drink milk every day.
Yes.
Right? So what happens? A farmer needs a cow that produces milk, has to eat every single day.
Yes.
But when does the milk processor pay you? They pay you once a month. Right? So it's the same thing. The farmer, when they deliver their maize, they receive receipts. But now this receipt is converted into cash by a bank through a bank loan, right? On the other hand, this farmer has a need for animal feed. They can also hedge the price of the animal feed. So they know, I'm going to be paying maybe 20 shilling a kg for my food. So for my labor is 5 shillings, and for taking care of the cow, maybe other things. So for every liter of milk that I sell, I'm making 10 shillings. But if they were not hedged, when the price goes down for milk, what will happen? They receive a lower price.
Lower price.
And if the price of animal feed goes high, their profitability goes down.
Goes down. Yes.
But now, when you are hedged, your profit is guaranteed. And this is the biggest innovation in terms of agriculture in our country. And the other part is a lot of young people are going to come in and do the part of speculation. Now they're becoming farmers without holding a djembe.
That is the most beautiful thing I've heard today. So if you've been thinking of getting into agriculture, this is the sign. This is the sign. Get in there, do the work, make some money. Of course, another thing also comes up that we often hear about. There is this term called margin in futures trading, you know. Could you explain what margin is, its significance, and how it relates to the managing risk in agricultural futures?
So what I've said to a margin or a bond,
yes,
is a very important risk management tool. It is what guarantees both parties. People say, put your money
where your mouth is.
Exactly. And this is where you put your money, where your mouth is.
Yeah.
And so the margin is a percentage of the overall contract. And it's a small amount,
Yes.
but it's very significant. So, for instance, for margins for maize can be 5% of the total value of the maize. So you can imagine, if you are a processor of maize, you want to buy maize in June, September, and December. You have two options. You can wait and buy it from people at whatever price, or you can lock in the price right now at a particular price all the way up to December.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But what guarantees are you going to issue? You're going to put in the margin with the exchange. Now, when the farmer here puts in the margin and the buyer puts in the margin moves according to the market prices, so as to eliminate the risk. So, let's say the price of maize goes up. What will happen? The price of maize goes up, the margin for the farmer is going to increase. If the price goes down, the margin for the buyer is going to go up, because their risk has to be taken care of. At the end of the day, the margin makes the futures contract a zero-sum game. Nobody makes more, nobody loses, as long as it evens out in terms of pricing. It's zero-sum.
Okay.
What you agreed on is what you're going to get.
Is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Okay. How do futures contracts contribute to the overall efficiency and liquidity of agricultural markets, and what role do they play in establishing benchmark prices?
So let me take the question from the last part. Benchmark prices. Because futures contract can be traded 3 even 5 years in advance,
yes,
you will know the price of particular commodities 5 years or 3 years in advance. Mainly, like here in Kenya, the contracts that we have will be 3 years, up to 3 years in advance, right? So imagine you'll know the price of maize 3 years in advance. What does that do? It allows the farmers to see, okay, this is the price that we're going to get. It's profitable, so we're going to produce all the maize that we need, all the beans that we need, the soya beans, the cotton that we need to fulfill the needs of the processors. And on the other hand, the processors now are guaranteed of the produce for them to process. That will mean that we will have price stability across the value chain because the prices are very clear. On the other hand, it will expose opportunities, especially for young people who want to go into agriculture. They'll see the prices, and what do you want to do? You want to take the profitability of a particular industry. Now, the profitability of a particular industry will be very clear. The other part is international players are going to see what we are producing, and they can put in orders in advance to offtake. For instance, Kenya, we are one of the largest textile exporters, but how much cotton do we produce? For instance, Kenya is one of the largest textile exporters.
True.
But how much cotton do we produce? Nothing to talk about.
Yes.
But now, if we show a processor that we can produce so much cotton, and the farmers on the other side, they realize, oh, there's a buyer for cotton. I mean, the farmers in Makueni, in the Nyanza region, Lower Eastern, they will be producing cotton. And because they are guaranteed of the price and the offtake as well. So that is one of the greatest impact that we are going to have.
Okay. Are there any potential risks associated with using future contracts in agriculture, and how can the market participants navigate these challenges effectively?
Everything has risk.
Yeah.
Right? And the biggest risk is what is borne by the speculators or the traders. So they come there knowingly that they're taking a contrary opinion or in relation to a market, right? So when you're coming in as a speculator, you are taking on the risk, right? But you are also removing the risk from someone else.
Yes.
And who is this someone else? You're removing the risk from a processor and you're removing the risk from a farmer because you're coming in between the two and removing that risk as a speculator. So that is one of the key. Now, what other risks that are there in terms of the market itself? Let's talk for farmers. In the futures market, it's not if or but. If you say you're going to produce maize at a particular price, that is exactly the contracts that you've gone into. So you have to produce it, right? And make sure that you fulfill that. If you don't fulfill that, you basically lose your margin. Same as to the processor. If they say that they are going to buy the maize, they have to take that maize at the agreed price. Now, if the price goes high, for instance, right now maize is at 4,000, right? If the maize goes to 6,000, the risk that you've done as a farmer, you've lost the opportunity to sell your maize at 6,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you are going to wait, what were you turning into? You were turning into a speculator. Now, the other part is mainly to do with the way settlement occurs. You have to accept delivery if you say that you are going to accept delivery. For instance, do you remember those 20 cows that we are talking about?
I remember them.
If something was going to happen between now and December and our big ceremony doesn't occur, you still have to accept those 20 cows. Yeah. Sasa tutapanga sherehe ingine.
Tutapanga sherehe ingine. All right. Yeah, what happens between the buyer and the seller?
That's a very interesting scenario.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens is, one, the farmer still has to deliver,
Yeah.
right? But now there's something that has happened. A fire happened,
Yes.
right? If a fire happened, the farmer must have taken insurance, right? Now, as part of what we do, we educate the farmers about all these options, right? So if they have insurance, then the insurance compensates them on that, right? And then from there, they can buy maize from someone else and
Sell it
deliver.
and deliver.
Exactly. But there are other instances that happen. An act of God,
Yes.
right? Then those are covered within the futures contract as act of God.
Act of God. Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
If there is a war in Kenya, you don't expect someone to deliver maize to you, and there's a war going on and so on. So
Okay.
those are things that are covered in the futures contract. The aim of the futures contract is not to profiteer. It's basically to manage risk. Yeah.
So another important thing that you're also bringing into this concept is it is very important for a farmer, no matter the margin of your produce, no matter how big or how small you produce, it is important for you to have an insurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Insurance is key, right? And it costs a very small amount.
Yeah.
For instance, if you are a farmer who has cows, 10 or 20 cows, and you're producing milk,
Yes.
it's very important that you have them insured in case lightning strikes or they die prematurely and so on, so that you can replace those animals so that you can fulfill your end of the contract. Yeah.
Okay. Of course, I know maybe there is a farmer who is watching us somewhere very deep huko haelewi what exactly is happening in terms of them being technologically savvy. Yeah, and they'd be so much interested to, get into futures contract, but they don't understand the technicality that lies, in all this. Yeah, how would you advise?
So one of the key things that we're doing as an exchange, we're going to be educating a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Over the next 3 years, it will be 6,000 people who are going to be educated on our program. And they're not going to be based in Nairobi or Mombasa or any major. They're going to be based in their local areas, in their villages. So they are the ones who are going to be educating farmers about this. These are representatives.
Yes.
Then there are those young people who think or who see this as an opportunity and they can learn by themselves. We're going to have our programs out there, and they're going to be studying on themselves on our platform. Now, they can take our grandmothers are technologically savvy, and nowadays we see them on TikTok dancing and
everything. Yeah.
Now this is a time for you to take that phone and that bandwidth and use it for them. We want cross-pollinations of ideas so that they teach the young people who they are dancing with about the agricultural situations that they are in, and these young people are learning from what we are teaching them, and they're passing that information to their grandparents. So through that cross-pollination of ideas, I believe we are going to attract more young people into agriculture. And then when time comes, they are going to be very technologically advanced. They know what's a futures contract. They know what's an option. They know what derivatives are. They know what's insurance, what's the importance of it is. And they're turning agriculture from something that their grandparents did to an agribusiness.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob, It's always a pleasure having you, and thank you for the valuable insights that you've given us today on this other episode. Ladies and gentlemen, do you still have another question? Do you want to ask something? Always feel free, drop it in the comment section. You can always inbox us, send us a DM on Instagram and Facebook. We will always answer your questions, and definitely, if it is really itching, we will cover it one more time on another episode of this. So please, don't you go anywhere. It's been a pleasure. My name is Akuku Danger. Happy to have you here. And till next time, see ya. Looking ahead, how do you see the future of agricultural futures contracts evolving, especially in the face of technological advancements and changing global dynamics?
I think agricultural futures or any kind of futures, there's a great opportunity and the market is going to grow because the general public and users are becoming more enlightened.
Yes.
There's also accessibility. For instance, for us as CMX, people will be able to trade agricultural futures or any kind of futures from anywhere in the world using their mobile phones. They can use their tablets or computers and so on. And that changes the dynamic in terms of access. So this market is going to be very accessible. The other part, because of technology, we are now able to offer this contract in smaller denomination, therefore attracting more people, more farmers and more users into this ecosystem. Yeah.
Totally unrelated, yeah, because I know we might be having viewers who are maybe, just maybe not into agriculture. Do you think this is just for the sake of my own sanity? For, when we talk about futures contracts, do you think it is something that can also be
applicable?
Yes, applicable in other fields, in other areas. For example, when it comes to services, and rather than selling of goods, we talk about selling of services, for example. In that, let's say a client needs the services of Akuku Danger as an MC in the year 2025, January.
Yes.
That is next year, January.
Yes.
And as at now, we say, for example, Akuku Danger charges 100,000, but projecting that by the year 2025, Akuku Danger's brand shall have also leaped a few steps further, and he would wish to charge, for example, 200,000 for the same services. Do you think the services of a future contract can also be applicable here?
Absolutely. So there is what we call event-based futures contract.
Yes.
So event-based futures contract is where you sell a futures contract for a particular event in the future. For instance, the show. So it protects the users, so they can buy their tickets in advance, or basically the entire concert in advance. So that is an event-based futures contract. There are other things. We have futures contract for rain, for snow, and even for carbon credits.
Yes.
Basically, the oxygen that we breathe, we can create futures contract for that. So we can create futures contract for anything.
For anything.
It's basically the users that want to enter into those contracts. Yeah. But it's very applicable. So look at it this way. For energy, for instance, if someone will tell you that they'll give you an opportunity to buy petrol for 100 shillings for the next 10 years, will you do that?
I would.
Maybe, right?
Yes.
Or if we say we are turning into electric vehicle, they tell you, I'm going to sell you a futures contract that you are going to charge your car at a particular amount for the next 10 years, as long as you have the vehicle. Can you do that? Absolutely. But this other person is doing that because maybe they are a producer of energy. So for instance, Kenya Power and Lighting can say they want to enter into futures contract to buy electricity at a particular price in the future. It doesn't matter what happens. So when the Kenya Power enters into a futures contract to buy electricity, whether the electricity goes up, goes down, whether there is rain or not, whether the price of oil goes up, or
whether there is a monkey on the generator or not,
it remains the same. What does that do? For the consumers of who are serviced by Kenya Power and Lighting will always have a constant price all the way through, year in, year out.
Very well articulated. And of course, before I let you go, back to agriculture. Of course, that is the reason why we are here this particular episode. Now, assume a farmer who is also doing producing maize, plants everything, and sells a future contract to the seller. And then I project that by December, I will have the right strain of maize, with the right moisture content, generally what the maize miller requires of me as a farmer. And then between now and December, something happens to my crops. For example, there is a fire. There is a fire and everything goes down. In such a scenario, what happens between the farmer and the seller?